Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the High Pop Professor. Today, once again, we've got a stack of cards that we're considering sending into PSA. We're going to go ahead and analyze them. We're going to look at them, pick them apart, find any reason we can to not send them in, and help us decide, well, what's going to go in our next order through GameStop. So let's go ahead and turn around and we'll look at some cards. Okay, so we've got our microfiber cloth. I've got my glove. I've got my loop we can use here, and I'm ready to look through some of these cards. Again, these are ones I'm considering sending off for grading in my next GameStop PSA submission. Now, this is a little different than previous ones for a couple of reasons. I do have a good mix of inserts and parallels and all that kind of stuff. However, I have more cards to look through today than usual. I've got about 20 of them picked out. I've got about 10 of them that I think are, worthy of consideration. And then I've got like 10 that truly, I feel like I need to be talked down from the ledge, because the kind of cards I'm considering are low-end base cards that at this moment happen to be selling for a pretty crazy amount in a PSA 10. And so really those are like 10 or bust cards. So when I get to those cards, I am going to be much more harsh with those. If I find literally anything, like really anything wrong with them, they're probably going to just get kicked out. And so we have to just go in with that understanding. Okay, so the first one we'll look at here is this beautiful Matrix Parallel from Stadium Club. This is from '97. I absolutely love this dot matrix shine. It's an amazing card. A couple things about this kind of a design. These cards do not have sharp corners. These are almost, for whatever reason, the way that these cards are made, they tend to have rounded corners, and I'm going to show you a little bit more closer up what I mean by that. So we'll go ahead and go through what we're looking at here. And I want to make sure this light is going to be able to catch what we need it to catch here. All right, so we've got, here's a good example of one. So it's not damaged, but it does not come to, there we go, there's a good example here. It doesn't come to a full point. And that's okay. We just have to understand that that's sort of a quirk about these. There's a good example. It just doesn't come to a full point. Let's check the surface real quick too. Make sure we get a good, a hard time getting it to focus. Let me check the light. There we go. That's a little bit better. And so, looking for surface scratches, dents, blemishes, pock marks. And this is just a super clean card, at least on the front. And we'll check the back. I think there is a small issue with the back corner, if I remember when I looked at this before. But let's take a look and see how we're doing here. I'm still getting an issue trying to get this thing focused. There we go. That's a little bit better. And there. That's pretty good. Can I get this? Is that an issue with the corner? I don't believe so. Yeah, that one's okay. Got a little, maybe a rough cut on the bottom edge there, but that's not too bad. All right, and here comes the issue. So we've got a little touch of white on this bottom edge, right toward that corner. But otherwise, not too bad, not too shabby. And let me see if this is going to get any, I'm not sure if this is going to be any clearer for this. I still have to check the surface on the back here, but if we get this through the loop, I don't know if this is going to make any difference, but you can kind of see, a little whitening there. I'm not sure if that's actually any clearer than just bringing it up close to the camera, but that's pretty good. A little touch of white on the edge there. So no, I'm not really expecting a 10 on this. Let me check the surface here. Is that a tiny pockmark by his helmet? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I didn't really notice that. It's very small. So yeah, I mean, yeah, with that little bit there on the back corner, it looks pretty darn clean. It's almost a perfect looking card from the front. I think there is just a tiny little, yeah, little pock mark next to his helmet on the front. Just very, very small. Right there. I bet you this is probably a 9. And on most of the most of these you know, nicer quality parallels, inserts, it's not a super high-end card or anything, but it sure is beautiful. And I do believe that a PSA 9 would bring sufficient value, a sufficient bump in value. And that's kind of my rule of thumb for a lot of these kind of inserts, refractors, the 90s. You know, if we happen to grab, you know, if we happen to spike a 10, fantastic. But really, we are going for 9s. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the let's go ahead and do it pile. Let's go ahead and grade this. Not all of them are going to end up there, and so that's just you know, just so we know. All right, this next one we have is a beautiful Ripken Skylines from '96 Pinnacle. A beautiful acetate card. These are tough to grade though, because the acetate can be cloudy. We can have inclusions in there. The printing quality, the edges can be tricky on them. So looking through here, we don't really have to worry much about corners. So it is a sharp card. We've got some nice corners on there, which is nice. Let me figure out the focus on there. That's a little bit better. Good. All right, so let's just look really quickly. So the one thing I notice about this, nice clear image, not very cloudy. We do have an inclusion right there. And so this is not something, here, let me grab my microfiber. This is not something that can be wiped away. This is like embedded within the card itself. So from the back, I can't wipe it off. From the front, I can't wipe it off. So yeah, that's it. Otherwise, the surface is pretty darn clean. The hollow foil looks pretty good. And I'm still, now I did remember seeing something on the back, and I can't remember what that was. Let's go ahead and flip over and see what we got here. Okay, because some of these are specks of dust, but some of these aren't gonna come out here. All right, so the two things that I'm noticing here. Yeah, so number one, this whole top edge has got quite a lot of white on there, and I think that was just how it was cut. But I don't know exactly what they would do to us condition-wise here for something like this. This is a nicer card. It's a higher end card compared to what else I'm sending in this order, or considering sending in. Just checking real quick. Now there is something else here. Okay, so it looks like there's a little indent, like a tiny, 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 tiny indent right next to his helmet here. Oh, there it is, right there. Boy, that's tiny. But this is why we got to check the surfaces, you know? So yeah, I don't think this card with that in there, I don't think this is getting anything higher than like a 7. Between that and the top edge and the inclusion. I mean, it's a beautiful card. It's a nice, you know, nice shaped card, but I think we're looking at probably, you know, I think an 8 would be overly generous. I think we're probably looking at about a 7 here. Could even be a 6. I mean, depending on how they want to do that. So yeah, I'm kind of at a tough spot with that card, because, you know, is it worthwhile? Now, I did send a Greg Maddux in that I thought might come back like an 8, and it came back a 9. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised about that. So maybe if I'm thinking this is a 7, maybe I'm being overly harsh. I think if it comes back an 8, that would be a big win. So, you know, and I think it's a big enough card to where I'm leaning towards, yeah, let's just throw it in there and see what happens. All right. I was able to pick up one. I already have this card. And so this is a beautiful 99 Bowman's Best Refractor, Best Performers subset. Greg Maddux, of course, my guy. And this is just such a beautiful card. What a sharp card this is. Boy, these corners are, yeah, You don't have to worry about these cards not coming to a to a point. I'll tell you that. Yeah, boy, this is nice. Let me check the surface real quick. Make sure there's nothing. I don't see scratches, pock marks, blemishes. Boy, that's a clean card. Okay. And on the back, make sure that the back edges, the back corners. All right, so something here. It looks almost like, I wouldn't call it a ding, but it's almost as if there's a little bit extra on that corner. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna hurt me here, but I don't see that as being damage. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, and then the surface. Let's just make sure that we are. Oh, okay. So there's a little tiny pock mark here. Is that a pock mark? You know what? That might actually be something. That might be something stuck on the card. There's a little speck right there, right there, and I can feel it. It's like it's raised up on the card, and so let me just. Yeah, it came right off. Okay, it was a little spot that was just like stuck to the card. So there you go. There we go. Yeah, got that removed. Great. But yeah, that's why we check these things over. You can't have something stuck to it that can just come right off. Okay. Great. Yeah, I mean, this looks super clean to me. Look, this is a this is a mint card. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's I think this is at least a 9. I think it certainly has a shot at a 10. What was that little? Okay, so we got a little like fingerprint here. So this is why I'm trying to, yeah, just get a little, yeah, that's better. Just give it a little once over. Okay. Yeah, I think we have to send that one for sure. Beautiful card, love it. And so yeah, I think we'll add some good value to that, whether it comes back a 9 or a 10. But I picked it up for a pretty good price, and so I think that with that condition being what it is, we're good to go. Okay, so this card, this is a 93 SP Platinum Power. This is the first die cut insert that they ever had back in 93. I had this card in a PSA 9. I had sent one in, and I ended up selling it because it in a 9 was worth now like $200 because it's a very tough, very condition sensitive card. And so I got a replacement that looked pretty good to me. The problem is I don't think I'm going to send this in. And part of the reason why is I think I don't think an 8 would do much for the value. You really pretty much have to get a 9. And I think I damaged this card getting it in here. When I was looking at it, see that little speck of white at the very top? That was not there when I was looking at it before. And as I pushed it into the penny sleeve, that little bit of bronze foil chipped off. And so if that were the only thing, I would send it anyway. But the problem is we've got a little spot here in the upper right corner. We've got a little spot right there. See, I can't get this to focus. There we go. That's pretty good. And then even without taking it all the way out of the penny sleeve, we've got a touch on this corner, and we've got a touch along this bottom edge right there. So I think all of those combined together, I think we just stop this here. It's a beautiful card. The back edges look tremendous. Truly, the edge of the die cut is marvelous. But I think with what we've already seen here, with the touches of white that show through this bronze foil and the dark blue background, I don't think this is going to get anywhere above an 8. So I think we are going to have to set this one aside into the rejection pile for now. And that's fine. It's still, compared to the other examples that are out there, it's a beautiful, beautiful card. Okay, this one, like this one, this is one of those cards, 94 Leaf Limited. This is the Gold All-Stars. This is numbered out of 10,000 on the back, which used to be a really exclusive number tier of card to get. This is one I've considered sending in many, many times, and every time I chicken out. But we're going to go ahead and look at it anyway. Similar to this, a 9 would bring a big value bump. So we don't need this to be perfect. Now, a couple things I'll say about these Leaf Limited cards in general. The corners are absurdly hard. They are the biggest, most sensitive, condition-sensitive things you've ever seen in your life. And the surfaces aren't far behind. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for sharp corners if we can do it. And we've got some, again, this is not a perfect corner, but it's pretty darn good. Let's look at this one. All right, so we maybe, is that a touch? That's so funny. It in real life, it doesn't look like there is, but through this, it appears that there's a touch on the corner there. That's funny how that happens. Okay, now I'm not sure what that is. That's just like, I don't know. That's like on the surface itself. But again, we don't need perfection. Like, I'm not saying this would get a 10. It won't. I'm thinking it probably, I think it might have a shot at a 9. And for a card like that, that would be a tremendous bump, a tremendous gain in value if we could do it. There we are. Now we got this focused. Like these corners. Now, there's an issue with that corner. There is a very, yep, this is the weakest corner on there. But considering that every other one is so good and so sharp and it's centered and the surface doesn't have scratches on it really, and I mean, I would challenge anyone to find a better copy of this card. I feel like it's definitely got a shot at that 9. So we're going to go ahead and send it and see if we can't get it this time. I have been curious about it. I've been very close to sending it so many times, but I think today might be, this submission is the time to give it a whirl. So we'll go ahead and green light that one. We'll go ahead and put that in the fast lane. Okay, 94 Pinnacle Museum Dufex Griffey. Now this is unfortunately it's not the 95 with the big bubble. That card in a PSA 10 I believe just sold for $4,500. Yeah, Dufex, just a museum, not the artist proof, just the museum collection. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Yeah, Griffey cards and PSA 10s have been just doing absurd things. I made a video about that caught some pretty good attention. There is a little bit of a touch here on the top, and I don't even think that's like edge damage. I think that's just the edge of the foil got a little bit like folded up or something. I don't know, but I'm not worried about that. But yeah, let's keep on going. We got some nice corners here. Really nice corners. Let's check the surface. Now the surface you got to watch for these cards do get some paper loss, or we get some bubbling that will sometimes appear on the surface. And so we got to be careful, even beyond scratches and dents and pockmarks. Now for me, the big thing I look for is the edge chipping on the back. A dark black card on the back. How are the corners? How are the edges? That's always the key here. And I'll tell you what, this card, that's pretty solid. I'll tell you what, I mean, there's a little bit, I guess, on the edges here, but that's very minor. The other thing too is that this card is just a little bit hulked. His face is just ever so slightly tinged, a little green, which I think is the biggest flaw on this card, honestly. But I feel like this is a 9. And in a 9, this is probably somewhere in the $60 to $80 range. I think that's a really nice value add. We're gonna go for it. I feel like an 8 for a card like that is just way too harsh. I don't think it's a 10. I don't think anyone would say it's a 10, but I feel like a 9 is like the only grade that really makes sense for a card like this. So we're gonna go ahead and green light this one. All right, and then we've got a beautiful 2000 Finest Refractor, a gem subset for Cal Ripken. And let's go ahead and take a look at this beautiful card. Now this is a rather thick, there we are. So this card, to me, I gave it a once over. I saw nothing wrong. I saw zero faults with this card. To me, this looked like a perfect card. I mean, checking the surface, I see zero scratches. I see no dents, no pock marks. What's this over here? As I say that, that's how that works. All right, well, I'm not sure exactly what that there's a little tiny thing next to the home plate there. I don't even know what that is, but I'm not worried about it. Oh, the back is refractored too. I love when they did that. Man, that's so cool. But yeah, look at these corners. We got, yeah. Boy, that's clean. That's great. Looking for, again, on the back here, nothing untoward. There is one little, okay, so maybe the very edge, there might be one little thing there, right there. And even that, I think, might just be a result of the cut. But yeah, okay, so we found one thing. Okay, so maybe this is a 9. But everything else looks absolutely perfect. Honestly, in full honesty, I still think it has a shot at a 10. I've sent in refractors too before where I thought there was no way they'd get it. There, not no way they'd get a 10, but I was very shocked by the 10s that they've given me. And so the rest of the card just looks so clean. I think there's still a chance. So yeah, we'll pull the lever. We'll pull the slot machine lever and take a chance on this one. But even in a 9, like I say before, it's like, 10s are great, but on this caliber of a card, this beautiful refractor, there's a hair stuck in there. But a beautiful card like this, a caliber of a refractor, it's not like a base card. We don't have to get 10s on these to get nice value add. And so that's really all we're trying to do. 9s are great, 10s are better, but a 9 will still, fulfill our goals for what we're trying to do. Okay, I love this card. I have also toyed with the idea of sending this in. This is a 95 Fleer Skybox Emotion N-Tense Griffey. And yeah, this is one of those cards. This was actually the toughest insert set that they had. And this is the best guy in the set. So let's see what we've got here. Looks pretty darn clean. Again, I think this is definitely probably somewhere between a 9 and a 10. There is a very slight refractor line going down through the N. I've seen them still give cards with refractor lines. I've still seen them give those 10s. There is a very small pockmark that we can see. Let me take a look here. Just going to brush away. We have a very small pockmark over the first F in Griffey. There it is. Very tiny. This is a pretty big, pretty significant zoom in. And it looks like we also have a very small, and I think that might just be, again, stuck to the surface. Let me get, yeah, it came right off. I don't know what that was, but well, it's gone now. Yeah, so teensy tiny pockmark. Let's look at the back real quick. And again, I'm not sure if that's well, we're gonna look at it. There we are. Beautiful. I will say the quality control for 95 Emotion was very high. So I feel like the gem rate in general for these cards should be very good. So I'm feeling pretty good about this card. With the pockmark there, is that enough to take it down from a 10? Again, I don't know. I think somewhere like the Ripken, that last Ripken, it's like somewhere between a 9 and a 10. A 9 is okay. I'm not gonna lose my shirt over a 9. It said beautiful 90s insert. Hoping for the 10, of course, would be a nice, really nice value add. But even a 9, I think, would still, I think we're gonna add enough value to where it's, it'll certainly pay for the cost of grading it, being as rare of an insert as it is. Not that it's like the rarest of the rare, but it's a nice card. Okay, so once again, I've said it before, I really enjoy my my gold signatures, first day productions, all those kind of cards of that ilk for Maddox, from my Maddox PC. Tough to find the corners, tough to find the centering that are good. This card is not perfect. I think it has a shot at a 9, and so I'll tell you why. Some of the corners are a little bit iffy, but that's okay. We can go with that here. Just giving this a once over for corners. Yeah, maybe a small touch there. Maybe. And then this one, there is a small little, it looks like it's a nick. It's just a little part where the gold didn't take. So I guess you could call that edge wear. That's the only little spot, but I think with that spot, it's that's the only real detractor I can see condition-wise here. And I forgot to look at the surface on the front, so we'll do that in just a moment. But this looks pretty. All right, I think there's a little print spot between the 11 and the 3.42, but that is really small. That's not going to prevent anything, I think. Okay, now wait a second. Okay, I did see something. All right, now this I did not see before. I think we have a fairly large scratch on the back here, right here. Okay, I missed this, and it's going through the hologram. Yeah, look at that. That's a relatively deep scratch. I did not see that before. The first thing I look at are those corners. Okay, well, definitely that's not going to grade well, for sure. Look at that. Boy, that's a pretty deep groove. Okay, this one's a no. and this is why we do this. This is why we do the analysis video. We do it well, because it's fascinating to talk about which cards should be sent or shouldn't be sent and the potential value gains. But I also do it as a way to protect myself against PSA potentially damaging cards. I have documentation of what condition those cards are in when I send them. And also, it helps me to save some money. And I don't have to waste now, $20 sending in this card that would probably come back a 6. And I'd be like, why is that a 6? That looks way better than a 6. Well, that would be why. Okay, now, moving on. We've got this Topps Power Booster at the break. And this was from 95. This was like a traded and rookies set. They had Power Boosters in 96 as well. But this style of Power Booster was used in 95, the 95 set. Okay, so this is interesting. Like the Matrix, the foil that's used on here, these cards also don't necessarily come to the right kind of corners. I'm looking at this. I wonder, is this card miscut? I'm seeing the edge kind of bows out and then in a little bit as we're looking at this. And so that's interesting. There's like almost a little bit of a groove. It comes like out and back in. That's interesting. Huh. In my last one that came back from PSA, there was one that came back N8 that was miscut, that they refused to grade. So we got a little touch, looks like, on this corner. These are super thick cards, by the way, especially compared to other 95 Toppses. So let's just take a look there. Yeah, that might actually be a miscut corner. We also have, it's a fisheye, actually, is what that is on the surface right there next to the Junior. Interesting. You almost can't see it. It blends in with all of the other speckle shines that are on here. Let's check just real quick. Let's check over the surface. I don't see any dents, scratches, pock marks, grooves like we had in that last card. All right, let's just check real quick. We got some nice solid corners here. Yeah. Yeah, solid card. No, and again, with the way we look at this, I don't see any issue here. But yeah, there's, I guess, just a teensy tiny touch of white right there. And then this corner, what the heck is going on there? Unless my eyes are playing tricks on me. But I think that might just be a miscut. Are they going to grade that? I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's still possible to get the 9. If it didn't get the 9, I would say no. But, I'll have to think about that. I might put this in the maybe pile. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I mean, I guess if it was a miscut and they determined that, I didn't get charged for the last one I sent in. They refunded me anyway. So I guess from that perspective, I guess I don't really have much to lose. I'm not going to be out the grading fee. So if they don't, it's I feel like it's better than an 8 though. Yeah, gosh. You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and just send it on. I think we're going to go ahead and just send it on. Okay, this is... Now, at some point, I've got to learn my lesson. And this card, a 94 Bowman's Best Refractor, Cal Ripken Jr. This is a beautiful card, but it does have some hulking on there. And because of this hulking, you know, anything that has some reasonable hulking on it like this, and then you got a refractor line coming down here, right there, in the front of his helmet bill. You know, even with the corners essentially being perfect, and can't really tell about centering anyway, but part of the issue, when you have hulking to that extent, I never see PSA give these anything higher than an 8. I sent in a Barry Bonds that was that I just pulled actually over the summer of this red refractor from 94, Bowman's Best. And yeah, it came back an 8, which I sort of expected. I was hoping for the 9, didn't get it. And I'm not really convinced that an 8 is going to be a significant increase in value. So I think I might just leave this as it is. And if I'm going to maybe just sell this card, I think maybe just take very good pictures of it. And yeah, just let that one be on the way. Okay. So this is sort of the last card of what I would consider the reasonable cards to submit. You can see what's coming up next is going to be some fairly embarrassing cards. And just embarrassing from the standpoint of, well, we'll take a look at that. But generally, I do not advocate, you know, grading 50-cent cards. You know, spending that money to do it just doesn't seem like a very worthwhile endeavor. This is the last one where I think now this one, I just opened this opening day set, and the Bo Jackson was one of the best conditioned cards in there. I will say I was a little bit underwhelmed by the condition of the cards. They were fairly beat up and off-centered and diamond cut, and now this one does have all sorts of little card debris on it, things like that. And so I want to make sure before I send this in. Now, I don't really believe this is a 10. If it were, it's a couple $100. Bo Jackson rookie. If it's a 9, it's still worth like 40, and so that's still a nice value add. And I do believe this is a 9. Now it's a little off-centered, but I think it's still barely within the tolerance allowed for a 10. It's right at about that 45-55 tolerance. Little thinner on the right, little thicker on the left. But really, I want to look at these carefully. Now, again, these corners, They're not going to come to incredible points, any of them. They're all a little bit blunted. But that's okay. That's how they're supposed to be. And now I've really got to check the surface. And that is where these things hide. There are indentations and all kinds of blemishes here that I want to make sure that we're documenting. Okay, so like, all right, so there's something already. I'm seeing it like right by this 87 area up here. Let me get this back into the light. Like, I can't tell exactly what that is, but there's something. Like, honestly, it looks to me like just a fairly normal variation in the cardboard topography, I guess you could say. But yeah, that's the kind of thing, like, at some point that becomes a dent, or that becomes classified as, and that's like, you know, substantial damage, and now it's like down to a 6 instantly, or something like that. So, you know, I mean, boy, that's a clean card. Let's check the back real quick. I guess one nice thing about these kind of cards, I don't really have to worry so much about fingerprints on these paper cards, but yeah, the centering is pretty solid. The edges and corners, to me, look as they should on cards like this. And then, yeah, just looking at the surface, hard to get that shine on there. It's a matte finish, but I'm really not seeing much of anything other than what we should be seeing here. So yeah, I mean, in my book here, there's nothing, like, the corners are as they should be, the edges are as they should be. I don't see anything screaming that this shouldn't be at least a 9. All right, there's one last thing I just saw right here. Oh, look at that. So again, here's what I'm talking about. Like, there's something going on up here. See that? Like, there's a little, what is that? Like the little naturally occurring, yeah. Like, is that enough to throw it out from being a 9? So I think with that, it wouldn't be a 10. Is that too much of a topography difference? Yeah, but I looked it over and didn't even see it, you know, the first time. And so I've got to ask myself, am I going to be heartbroken if this thing comes back an 8? Like, if, and I got to say, if this comes back an 8, this would be the most beautiful looking PSA 8 I have maybe ever seen, with perhaps the exception of my 85 Donruss Roger Clemens rookie that I got Dylan Double D to grade and put in one of his slabs for me. But yeah, so yeah, this is no longer a 10. But even still, if it can get the 9, I'm just not sure what they're going to do with that. So yeah, I was fist pumping before with this card, but now it's I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this one. So we'll have to see. I'm gonna put this in the maybe pile. Okay, so now we get to these cards, and these are, like I said, these are the embarrassing ones. Now, the nice thing about this is that I get to change my mentality entirely. With cards like these, I'm no longer going for 9s. These are 10 or bust. And so some of these cards, even from 92 Fleer that I opened myself, you know, last year, had a couple of these. These cards, if you spike a 10 on these, a card like this can still sell for hundreds of dollars. And that's what we're going for here. You know, we're going for something like this. Now, in the case of this particular one, I saw PSA 9s of this selling in the 40 to 50 range. So that one, we've got more tolerance for the fact that it is a lot more off-centered and things like that. It doesn't have to get the 10. But everything else in this pile pretty much has to, or else we're not going to consider it. So in some ways, we have to be quite a bit harsher on I have to be a bit more harsh on my own evaluation of these cards. But let's go ahead and take a look at this beautiful Provisions Griffey from 92 Fleer. Okay, and so, yeah, these have to be perfect, effectively. Not so much this card, but every card after this. Like, if there's a touch that we can see anywhere on here, we've got to just make that, just throw it in the no pile and not think too hard about it. The surface, again, needs to be flawless. Like, nothing on there that shouldn't be there. And yeah, you know, this looks pretty much the way that we would like it to. Yeah, I'm not seeing much of anything on here, anything surface-wise on the back. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a 9. You know, if the grader has a good day, I think it's maybe got an outside shot at a 10. The centering is sort of right up against that threshold, so if they're feeling generous, I could understand that. But still, to turn a, you know, to pay $20 to turn this into a $45 card, sure, that works. And again, the outside shot of trying to get that 10. This is a very clean card, but this one I'm pretty certain we have to put in the yes pile. Same with like this Nolan Ryan. These Nolan Ryans sometimes, you know, they sell for, again, hundreds of bucks if you can get them in a 10. Now again, something like this in a 9 might only be 10 to 15 bucks. So it would lose. It would definitely lose money if it did not come back at 10. So we've got to be like hyper vigilant here. So we've got our corners. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Nothing untoward. The centering is good. Let's check the surface real quick. Okay, perfect. I found something. So there's a little thing above his hat here. So check this out. Yep, we're talking very minor, but perfect. Our job is done. We're no longer grading this. It's not going to be a 10. Great. So put that in the no pile, and we will move on. That's great. It saves me some money. Okay, like I said, we can, as soon as I find something, we can just move it right along. All right, base Griffey again. Yeah, these in a 10, somewhere between, you know, I think one of these sold for about 50, and I've seen other ones like this sell for even more. So again, is it a 10? I mean, let's find, give me a reason to not send this in. So let's look at these corners. Don't need to belabor the point. They are very sharp, but again, surface. Anything we can find on that surface that is going to... No, that's part of the picture's background. Okay, that's fine. Just making sure that wasn't some kind of a sputsy we had to clean off or wipe off of there. I was going to say, I found a few of those today. Okay, now we got... No, the edge of the card, oh, there's a little piece of fuzz that didn't want to lie down. See, now, is that fuzz right there? Is that enough to disqualify it from a 10? That seems a little bit extreme. Let's look at the back real quick. Yep. We got some beautiful corners, beautiful edges. Let's check the back surface. Make sure we don't have any pock marks. There we go. That came right off. Little, yeah, okay. This is, this is the first of the embarrassing sort that I'm going to go ahead and actually include. I'm going to take a gamble here, you know, because, well, wait a minute. Hold on. See, I didn't take much time on the edges of these. Let me see one quick thing. Okay, what's going on right there? It's like a little extra piece on that edge. See, is that little extra piece, is that gonna... Here, let's get this way up in here if we can get it. Ooh. Is that gonna... Yeah, it's like an extra part of the card right there. Gosh, I realize how tiny that is. And now I don't even see it. Here, let me get this zoomed back in. Now I don't even see it from this side. I mean, gosh, that's such a minor. Like how. God. I mean, that's teensy tiny. But you know what? I said anything. Anything we find, we're not going to include it. I can include it later if I want to. I'm going to put the no pile. It's finding anything. These have to be perfect cards. Here's a 98 Topps Ripken base. Yeah, Cal Ripken. As of the recording of this video, there's actually one that's listed on eBay. The bidding is up over $100 for this card. And if that weren't the case, this card wouldn't be here being pulled out at this moment. But again, if it's a 10, if it could be, it looked pretty clean to me. But, let's give it a go. Let's give it a look and see what we got here. The corners are really tough on these paper. The paper cards are actually a lot more condition sensitive than your chromiums, your finest. Those cards have the body armor built into it. These do not. And so now we got to check the surface. That's the one thing that really makes me nervous, is the surface. That's where defects can hide. And they hide in plain sight. Okay, so there's something right there. Right behind his, if I can even get that, right there. Yeah, let me see if I can. Yeah, that's actually, is that like the, it looks like a micro dimple. Well, let's check the back. It's interesting. The some of the cards that I've sent in that I knew would get 10s, they almost had this thing about them, like an aura, where they were so perfect that no other grade would have made sense for that card to get other than the 10. So I kind of feel like, unless that's the case here, then we probably should reconsider whether we're sending this or not. Okay, I'm looking at the top edge and some of the cut there, trying to see. Yeah, like right here. I mean, gosh, that's such a... Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, between that very tiny rough cut and the very micro, I mean, honestly, I think it has a reasonable chance at a 10, but I really just couldn't stomach it if it came back a 9, I don't think. I might reevaluate some of these, but I'm going to put that in the no pile. All right, here's a Tony Gwynn base paper Topps from 2000. Again, if these are cards that, if we can find them that have 0 flaws or defects, then great. Okay, so for this one, I think I already see something. It's on the surface. Under his knee, I see just the barest hint of some kind of a print line going this way, but it's under his knee going horizontally along here. Let's see if you can see this. I mean, gosh, that's not coming. That's not coming through at all. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, just under his knee this way. can barely see. I mean, that's so... yeah, I mean, it's something. It's otherwise. This is a pretty great looking card. But again, you know, this is also the kind of a card where maybe a 10 only sells for 35 bucks, and so why are we, you know, if there's anything on there that would give them reason not to get that, then we've got to just pull the plug. And again, I'm saving 20 bucks every time, $21.99. And this is already kind of a biggish order, so I'm looking for ways to save some money. So, you know, I'm secretly kind of glad that some of these base cards aren't making it. Okay, here was the other card from that $87 opening day set that I opened. I think maybe the only other card that might be considered for grading. So here's a Ricky Henderson. And again, you know, like the others, we've got... yeah, we've got these rounded corners a little bit. But that's, again, how they all are on this set. We get some fibers on the edge. The surface is what really worries me. And I know we saw just the barest hint of something here. Just trying to see. Okay, so we got a little pockmark by his kneecap here. No, that was okay. That was debris. It just came right off. How about that one? That's also debris. That's a problem. You know, the edges were cut so that there was a little fuzz and debris all over these cards. Really, you got to give them all a good wipe down. Okay, is this one? All right, that's just a little print spot. Okay. That one's not. That one came off. Okay, this is also one of those cards that probably only about 40 bucks or so. And a 10, maybe. I don't know. That's pretty, boy, that's a pretty crispy card. Yeah, this does make me a little bit nervous. It was funny. I do feel like the condition of this card is actually stronger than the Bo Jackson. I would prefer the Bo Jackson be in this condition, and you know, it's the bigger card. But, boy, am I really going to take a 50-cent card? Okay, so there is something on this edge. And again, it's like right here. Is that like right where this yellow stripe, just under that yellow stripe, there's a little, like a little recessed, I don't want to call it a dent or a divot, but it's like a, I don't know what to call it. It's a little valley in the card there. I don't know. Gosh, that's so minor. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just chickening out on all these cheapies now, but it's probably for the best, honestly. I don't, you know, I kind of want to, maybe I should leave grading these 50 cents. It was so funny. I was watching a video today about, it was the Mike's retro trading cards, and Joe Day was talking about, you know, things we're doing, you know, to make the hobby worse. And he's like, y'all are grading these 50-cent cards. And I just keep thinking about these because, you know, is this, am I part of the problem? Okay, here we go. Here's a base 97 Fleer Griffey. Oh boy, here it comes. I checked all of my Griffey cards, and thankfully most of them had some damage on them. This one appeared to be pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean it appeared to be flawless. So let's go ahead and check over real quick here. Yeah, it's funny. It looks like there's a touch on that corner through here, but in person it does not look like that. Yeah. I didn't check the surface, but these matte finish cards. I will say, you know, I kind of like the idea. Like I have a Brian Giles card from this set that's autographed, and those matte finish are really good for autographs. That's why they did that. But I will say these are some of the most painful cards to look through a stack of because they stick to each other. They don't glide across the surface, you know. And so speaking of surface, boy, I can't even get any light on there to see anything. Like there's a teensy little spot there between his hands, and I just can't tell if that's part of the picture. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't find anything wrong with this card. I mean, I guess if I really want to pull, you know, I guess the edge right there is like a little touch of fuzz. I wouldn't even call that, it's not like even damage. It's just, but if that's the worst thing wrong with it, okay. Okay, I feel like I have to send this in. I feel like this is a 10. I feel like nothing else makes sense other than a 10 for this card. If they gave this a 9, I would simply ask what prevented it from being a 10. I see 10s with way worse way worse damage and condition thing. No, I think this is okay. Here we go. We've got a legit cheapie that's going in into the S pile. We're doing it. Here we go. Okay, this is a fun card. 92, Topps Gold, non-winner. It's funny, I've had this card before. I sent it in once before, and I was confident that it would get a 10. It came back a 9, and then I was so confident I cracked it out and sent it back in, and it came back a 10. And so then I sold it for like $130. So here we are. And you know what? Already I see the surface. There's something going on right in the middle of the card. I don't know what this is, but there's some kind of either like schmutz on there or, ooh, I don't know. Not a 10. Not a 10. Nope. We're not gonna mess with it. Yeah, just no. Yep, no need. No need to do it. All right, last one. Well, one of the last ones. There's actually another one or two. Still want to take a look at. All right, Cooperstown card. When I bought my 91 score set, this was one that was included there. Now, what's interesting about these, all of the corners of these cards get like folded down. And so the corners are a little bit strange in that sense. But what we've got to check for is surface stuff. Now, one reason why I pulled this out, it's not a super expensive card in a PSA 10. It's probably about $50. But the back edges looked like perfection. These dark green borders, there is not a touch of white anywhere on this card. This is about the cleanest card you're going to find like this. So the last thing I need to really check here is the surface. I got to make sure if we're sending this in, and we're really trying to turn a 50-cent card into $50, we need to make sure that there's nothing, and I mean nothing, going on here with this surface. So here's something. Just clean that. Okay, that came right off. Yeah, really good to have this microfiber here. I love it when the defect brushes right off. That's great. Yeah. Just trying to get it in the right light. yeah, like centering is not perfect, but it's also not outside the tolerance of what a 10 is. Now, I want to show you what these corners, when I say that the corners are all bent down, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this. Not sure it's going to, but these corners almost have like a taper to them. Huh. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Gosh, because that back looks so good, that green is like, to get that without a single touch of white on there, man, that's tough to do. That's difficult to pull off. And yeah, I would dare them to give this anything but a 10. This is, and I guess the other thing too is, like, even if this came back a 9, it's still probably like $15. It wouldn't be that big of a loss. You know, I'm losing what, $6-7, you know, from $21.99 down to $15 or whatever. Maybe I could even sell it for 20. Who knows? That's maybe a little generous, but it wouldn't be a gigantic loss even if we didn't get that 10. So yeah, maybe we just throw it in there and let them figure that out. Okay, so thankfully, I'm really glad I was actually able to eliminate a good number of those cheapies. I'm going to have to go back and re-examine that Bo Jackson again and take a look at it. The last couple cards that I didn't put over here to show, I have this card here, and this is a Tony Gwynn rookie card, and this is in a CSG holder. I'm not sure I've ever shown this card. I've had it for quite some time. I mean, I've had it for as long as CSG was a thing, before they became CGC. But I'm going to go ahead and take it out of this slab bag, and we can admire this beautiful card. This is, in fact, it's a mint 9. And look, I've always thought that their slabs were some of the very best. I love how they look. And I'm considering cracking this and sending it to PSA because I recently saw what the 10s are now selling for, about $500-600. And look, if I can, you know, for $20, roll the dice, can I find why this was a 9 or why this wouldn't be a 10? And it's going to be tough because it's in the holder already. I'm not going to crack it now, but if we need to get the loop out and take a really close look at least start with the corners and edges and see if we can find or figure out what we need to look at here. So, looking really good. I guess maybe that corner's a little blunted. Like, I wouldn't call that a ding, but just a little blunted. Let's keep on going. And I guess a blunted, that one too a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a ding. Let's check the edges real quick. And let me get that away so we can see the edge. Yeah. Let's get that away so we can see this edge. Huh. Surface is going to be tough to see. But I'm going to try to. Yeah, surface is what makes me the most nervous. Thankfully, the clarity of these slabs is fantastic. So there's a little speck in there. I think that might just be stuck in the slab. Not 100%. Or maybe it might be on the card. It might be a little tiny, tiny print dot, but that's not a huge issue. Tell you what, let me move it over a little bit. There we go. I want to be able to see this edge. You know, it is kind of amazing, you know, realize what I am actually doing here. It's like we've decided, we as the market, as investors, collectors, have decided that mint is no longer good enough. And so we'll take this beautiful card, that whatever this is, $30, and a mint 9 slab, a non-PSA mint 9 slab. Okay. Oh, I found something. All right. You see it? Probably not. It is, there's what looks like, is that a stain? I mean, it's a little, looks like a mark. No, it's not a stain. It's a little mark, if you see it. Right there on the edge. There we go. See that little tiny thing on the edge? Right there, going into the yellow, right there. Oh my goodness. It's like the merest shadow. Okay, well, I don't know. Between the little blunted corners and that little whatever that is, shadow, mark, whatever. It's not even a mark, I don't think. It's just a print. I think it's a print thing. But, okay. I'm not gonna crack it. I love this card. I love the holder it's in. It's yeah, that's one of my favorite Gwyn rookies. So yeah, we're gonna keep that as is. The other silly thing I was thinking about doing is, again, just it wouldn't be in this order, but I was struck by the idea that we have a Mint 9 Auto 10 Maddox rookie. It is in fact dual graded. And, you know, I picked this card up a little bit after COVID, probably late 2021, early 2022-ish. And I paid about $140 for it. But this Mint 9 Auto 10 card has gone up in value. It's, you know, upper hundreds. It can be still found for a similar price, but sometimes they also sell for a little over $200. And I couldn't help but notice that the PSA 10 Auto 10s are selling for close to $1,000. Some of them sell for $1,200, some sell for $800. And that's a heck of a value increase. And the same reason, I just wanted to know, like, if I can find what made this into a 9 condition-wise, would that be would it be helpful, or would it be possible to consider, I can't even believe I'm saying that, like, to consider cracking this out of a Mint 9 Auto 10. Here it is. Can I find what made this card not a 10? And I'm not sure I can, by the way. I have looked at it. Honestly, the only thing I can think of that might is the same issue that plagues all of these 87 Donruss cards. The corners are blunted. There's not a single sharp corner on this card. I mean, that being said, they all are as they should be. Like, you don't... At some point, if the corners are too sharp, that throws up a red flag, because maybe it's been trimmed or altered or something like that. But just to give you an idea, like these corners, these are what I would consider to be perfect for this set. But if we zoom in like really far and you really look at these corners, I mean, we're talking like really, really far zoom in. If I can get it to focus, I'm not sure I can. But if we can get it to focus, you're going to see that these corners, every one of them, are round. Look at this one over here. Like, that is a rounded corner. And I don't consider that to be a bad thing. I guess my question is, I just have to do some research and figure out, here's another rounded corner. Beautiful. Rounded corner. Like, it's not a point. And here's the other one. Yep. Like 4 rounded corners. And those are all perfection to me. That's what I like to see in my 87 Donruss cards. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess what I have to do is find some PSA 10s, some really good quality, high quality scans, and zoom in to see, do they have the same corners? Are they giving those corners 10s? I can't, I can't find a darn thing on here that would keep this from being a 10. It looks really good. And it's one of those things too, where at a certain point, if it costs, what, $35 to do a dual grading submission per card, you know, for $35, let's say 3 of those for $100, just to make numbers easy. If I can increase value from $200 up to $1,000, you know, for a chance at $800, I'm paying, for a gain of 800, I'm paying what? 35 bucks? So I could crack this out and resubmit it like 20 times, 24 times. And the chance that one of those times it would come back a 1010, like, there's probably better than a whatever 5%, 10% chance that it would do that with this particular. Like, sometimes you can look at the nines and you can figure out why it's a 9. I can't for this card, which makes me, I can't even believe I'm thinking of cracking this open. I part of me would want to just send it in the slab and say, hey, can you regrade this? Are you able to do that? Or consider it? Anyway, all right. Well, it's been a long enough video already. Thank you all for coming along with me. This, again, was just mostly CYA, cover my bases, make sure PSA doesn't damage my cards, have a record of what these values are, what these conditions are like before I sent them there. And thankfully, I was able to eliminate a whole bunch. And so here are cards that will not be getting 10s. And so I just saved, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80. I saved almost 200 bucks, which is exactly the idea. That was the whole point of going through this exercise. At least one of the points. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.